As if being a dentist alone isn't stressful enough, we also get to deal with the second highest cause of stress in the workplace. that of blending together the people who work for us. Stress and conflict in the workplace can take a toll on all of us, and it can cause decreased production, and it affects our overall happiness. And I just want to be happy. So today is conflict in the dental office. That's our topic. We begin our conflict podcast right there.
Computers are live, mixer is up, levels are good, equalizer is good, ready channels 1 and 2. Mic is live in 3, 2, 1, roll it. Welcome, listeners, to the My Practice, My Business podcast, where we teach dentists and their teams how to reclaim forgotten profitability in dentistry with our clinical business of dentistry training. And now, the host of our show, the clinical director at My Practice, My Business, Dr. Rob Thorup.
Several weeks ago, I had a colleague call, and they were referred to us from one of our friendly Patterson reps, and they said, Rob, hey, I heard you're able to help offices with conflicts, and wondering if you could help me. I've got this situation going on, and what would you do about it? I'm like, fire them all, get rid of them. I'm like, sometimes it just drives me insane when we have to deal with conflict in the office, and it's tough. It's tough. Today, we're going to discuss reasons for dental office conflict and how job titles oftentimes cause issues. Think that one through. You guys know what I'm talking about already now. Job titles. I am in charge of the office. I'm the head assistant. Well, I'm the office manager. It's just hilarious. And the dentist comes into play and like, oh, I thought I owned the practice, but I don't know how to deal with you guys. Okay, so anyway, that's kind of what we're talking about today is what goes on. So we're going to talk about how to fix it before it becomes a problem. So number one, Doc, the first topic is lack of leadership. My dear doctor friends, is your leadership style one of hiding in your cave, watching Netflix? Or do you chat with your team? It's like, what are you doing? Playing games, watching movies. I've got Disney Plus going down in my office now. I hardly crawl out of my cave anymore. Do you recognize issues, or do you bury your head? Be a leader. Be a leader, not a follower. Leading with kindness. Yet, you've got to be firm with values, and that's the best approach I have found. Don't jettison your values. And don't be afraid to take course correction from others. That's a power play there. I took course correction from my 14-year-old just last week, and I praised her for it. I also let her know I'm still in charge. Okay? The balance we have to find both at home and in the workplace, that balance brings happiness. And as long as it doesn't compromise morals and values, then your leadership and thought leadership will always be the thing that causes everybody to draw to you. Okay, and also it'll set the example in the office. Number two is poor communication, and this goes hand in hand with lack of leadership. Okay, are you venturing out of your caves and just simply chatting with your team? Do you hold monthly interviews with your team where they can pour out their heart and soul on their true feelings with their job? And do you hold morning huddles sometime during the day? I don't always necessarily believe they have to be done in the morning, especially if I'm late, where all the team members can express themselves and have a seat at the table. Are there, by the way, if we miss the morning huddle, then we will always hold them at noon, but we'll address the next day going into the next day, unless there's been a schedule change. And of course, we want to talk about that before we go home at night. Are there bullies in the office who prevent others from opening up with their opinions on policies and procedures and other topics that might be critical and non-critical to the success of the office? There's a lot to think about but you have to think about it, and you have to act on your discovery once communication takes place. 3, generational issues, which are some of my issues. The younger generation, the majority of them anyway, they simply don't understand my work ethic taught to me by the greatest generation that ever lived, and that would be my dad in the World War II generation. And I don't understand this younger generation. I don't understand theirs. They want more pay for about 2/3 of the work that they do. I'm giving most of them the benefit of the doubt by not saying half of the work. What I can say is this. My team members do their best to keep up with me, and they actually state that all the time. And leading by example has been the best way to overcome generational issues. Pick up the garbage and take the vacuum and start vacuuming, Doc. And that goes a long ways. That's called servant leadership. We've talked about that before. The generational issues, that's a big power play there. This past week, we've once again honored and celebrated 9/11. And I look at what's going on out in the streets of our nation, and it's been 19 years. That's why we have a whole generation out there that doesn't understand what patriotism is. And obviously it has not been taught in the schools. I won't get too political, but I will. That's the problem. They didn't have good leadership in their schools and possibly in their homes. So don't let that happen in your practice. Keep your team unified. Number 4, by the way, I do want to say hats off to our first responders, and you've got my love and respect. And boy, I hope that all of us in dentistry show that to them and honor them for who and what they do. Number 4, unfilled needs and equality. This one is the power play. No pun intended. Needs and equality. Oh my gosh, here we go. This is where I'm not a big fan of job titles. More specifically, the attitude that goes with it. Sure, there needs to be a chain of command in every business, but empowering your team equally brings forth workers who are fulfilled in their job. Empowering them equally, they become more fulfilled. Put yourself in your front office team member's shoes. A customer has a complaint and asks for help. And the front office team member responds appropriately how you've trained them. Hopefully you train them. No office manager is needed because the receptionist or assistant up there was able to answer the question. What happens, though, when the response isn't what the patient wants to hear? Of course, they ask for, is Tracy here? I want to talk with Tracy. Does the office manager's response change from what the other team members told this highfalutin patient who didn't get the response they wanted? If it does, why? Has the front office team member not been trained on handling patient conflicts? And do office managers not train other team members, simply to look better to the patient, meaning, the office manager struts in there and goes, oh, I'll handle this. Is that to look better, or are you a team? Are you making yourself look better in front of the patient because you're going to give a different answer, one of more authoritative stance there? Or is everybody on the same channel? Is everybody on the same page? Okay? Many times we've seen the office manager make a decision that is not in the practice's best interest in an effort to make themselves look good in front of the patient or in front of team members and their doctor. Many times that person doesn't understand the business of dentistry, and they've been giving things away for a long, long time. And then, of course, they want to raise, but they've been taking money out of the doctor's pocket. That's like virtual fraud and embezzlement right there, in my opinion, if they're doing things that they don't have the authority to do. And that would be one of them. For example, how many times do we see a patient complain about a balance due and the office manager simply writes it off with no thought or investigation on that EOB as to why. Does that money come out of the office manager's paycheck? Sure, there are times when it is necessary, but most of the time we find that this power is abused in writing off debts. If it's a major complainer, they're going to leave a bad review. Sure, that's a decision that's made between you and the doc. But otherwise, no. Imagine that was the case. How would the other front office person feel when they now have been overthrown when their decision was the absolute appropriate one? Boy, animosity is going to set in there, right? Especially when the doc finds out. And the doc will find out eventually. Of course, that's probably after you've quit or you've been fired. We go back and we look at how much has been written off that never needed to be written off, and other team members going, wait, that's my bonus. That's my income too. And you're just using that power to give it away. What's going to happen with the team members that gave the right answer, and then the office manager comes and gives something else, that resentment. That's what happens. They feel belittled. How could that have been avoided? How can you avoid those situations? And this happens in almost every practice that we train. Practices that are cross-trained, and this is why we emphasize cross-training. Practices that are cross-trained have team members who can make the appropriate decisions up front, knowing that they will be supported by their coworkers and the office managers and the doc. A lot of people are saying, but Rob, they have no business talking finances. You missed the term cross-trained. My dear office manager, you can take time off and not have the office go to hell, okay? You should be able to. You shouldn't, in defense of you, the office manager, you should be able to go to the bathroom and not come back to a crap storm, right? You should be able to take a week off, go on vacation with your family, and come back and have EOBs entered and insurances sent out, and everything handled while you're gone, so you don't come back to a mess. That's what cross-training does. So you don't have to come back to stress. You come back to fix a few mistakes is all. But that's a lot better than a pile of work to do. It's amazing to see the transition of new hires when cross-trained from the stereotypical meek personality to confident, knowledgeable, equal team members. Number 5 is poor work habits. Most team members think we docs don't know what's going on, but we've got eyes in the back of our head. We usually do know what's going on. Most of the time, we just don't want to talk about it because we don't like conflict. We're scared of it. We just don't know how to handle this kind of conflict. It eats and eats at us until we finally blow a gasket. At this point in time, we get accused of being harsh, insensitive, overreactionary, and many other things because it's been building in us for so long. We finally just launch and react and get ticked. We explode. The bottom line is this. In your interview, you came across as the hardest working, like the new employee interview. You came across as the hardest working thing next to a nuclear reactor. And then when you're put to the test, you just suck wind. You're not a nuclear reactor. You're one of those windmills that's not spinning. Sorry. Oh my gosh. That cracks me up. That's a whole nother story. You just sit up front. You look like you're working on the computer, but you're actually just staring at the screen in a daze all day long. You look like you're working on the operatory supplies, but you're counting the hours until lunch or the end of the day. You don't take time to memorize the procedures. So you can't stay 2 steps ahead of me on a procedure. You only do hygiene, I get it, but would it kill you to present a treatment plan when the front is busy? And when that problem patient calls, do you pawn them off to the pawn of the office, the lowest level employee in your mind? You know what I'm talking about. I think I just covered every team member in every one of those scenarios. The best way I've found to ensure good work habits is to lead by example, Doc. From the way we practice dentistry to how we conduct our lives, it all comes into play, and it rubs off on our dental teams. If one team member is allowed to have poor work habits and work ethics, that individual will drag down the others to some degree, a little to a lot. I've seen it all. No matter how good the others' work habits are, everybody gets dragged down several steps. Not typically to the lowest common denominator of the lowest worker, but it just drags the rest of the team down. This is where having job descriptions with daily and weekly and monthly duties, that helps maintain at least a baseline of working habits, especially when they have to check those off each day, each week, each month. I know all of us are happy with our teams if they just maintain the duty list. And if you have that work list, and I'm happy to send you ours if you want to call. Everybody's been through our training, obviously has them in their manuals. But that list will keep your team pretty busy. Anything above that is just wonderful, and those are the 5-star employees, right? 6, differences in personality. In all of our dental practices, we combine team members with different backgrounds, experiences, and temperaments, and preferences, and who knows what else. You know, I've had dental teams that have become great friends outside of the office, and I've had them just become great friends as coworkers. Most important is that everyone treats each other with love and respect. But what about that person who just irritates the crap out of everyone with their toxic personality? Again, healthy atmospheres begin from the top down, but setting the tone for healthy relationships is key to team members seeking your help in resolving conflicts. If you have team members who disagree on something, there are 4 things to address. First, consider the points of view from both parties, okay? Second, focus on facts and not emotions or attitudes. Third, ask them what they want to resolve the issue. What do you want to resolve this issue? And fourth, follow up with their progress in resolving their issues. Don't think it's just been handled. You've got to do a couple follow-ups throughout the week or two. And the last thing we docs have in resolving conflict is to let one of the members go. However, you might also want to consider letting both members go. I've done that before too. Sometimes if we fire one in a conflict, it gives the other power over others in the office that they think they might have. And that's not a good place to be either. One time I told 2 team members to either work out their differences or they're both gone. And they worked it out for a short time, and the one with the problem ended up leaving. Problem solved. It's that easy. Oh, toxic work environments, the word toxic is sometimes an ugly word. And maybe we should call it an unhappy work environment. Loving what we do is more than just doing our tasks each day. It also means we are part of a team, a family, a dental family with responsibilities towards and for each other. And that responsibility is to help each other do their best, do our best, and succeed at our careers, the best that we can. Always trying to strive for the best, providing our patients the best care with the training that we have. And I say that with the training that we have, and that's why continuing education is such a valuable tool, because that's where we learn additional care and we learn how to care for our patients even more. But we do the best with the knowledge that we currently have. One day I toured the business of the phone company we use. I'd state their name, because I'm always promoting them, but I don't want to, give a shout out to. I don't want to give a shout out to Weave, so I won't mention their name. I was amazed at what I saw there, you guys. They had like pool tables, break rooms that were amazing, and a breakfast buffet section and snack section that I'm pretty sure would be the place I'd be hanging out at and probably get fired. I love cereal. Okay. However, these types of build outs, they don't fit in our budget for most of us. Dentistry is a different business animal than corporate dentistry. And it's not the only way for us to create a healthy workplace to have all that, because we're just different. And I will say, though, that they've got it down. And that's why people who work there are pretty darn happy with working for that company. What are we doing to help our teams be happy? What kind of environment are we creating? Let me mention the things that I feel are important for dental practices to help avoid an unhappy work environment. First, encourage open, honest, and respectful communication. Whenever we have team meetings, I've got one of my team members, Caitlin. She's one of my hygienists. Whenever I'll mention something, you guys, could we please do it? Do this protocol. Could we please maybe think about doing something this way? And Caitlin will say, "You guys, what Dr. Rob is trying to say, well, let me help you translate. What he's saying is, please, he wants you guys to make sure that you walk through the reception area and look for garbage after, patients leave, and make sure that it's ready for the new patient, so no wrappers or anything out there." He's asking you guys really kindly. What he's really trying to say is, get off your butts, get out there and clean the front office. Look around, have some situational awareness. What's wrong with you people? Honestly, I'm tired of doing your jobs for you. She cracks us up every time, man. That's what Dr. Rob really means when he's trying to use pleases and thank yous to get you guys doing your job. Did I cover that? Okay, Dr. Rob, was that it? Yes, Caitlin, I think you handled that perfectly. Thanks for translating what I was trying to say. I hope your team meetings have that type of fun and humor in them. I really do. Okay, second, focus on team members' behavior and don't take sides. And third, everyone should have accountability for their jobs. Hence, those lists and job duties and responsibilities that I'm talking about, right, they need them. Fourth, have team meetings outside of the office where people can spend time together. They tend to bond with each other with team building activities outside of the smell of teeth and stinky dental materials. Fifth, practice good communication skills in team meetings, along with other courses that helps improve the knowledge and expertise of your team and yourself, doc. Okay? Those are the things that will make a happy workplace. Teams that play together, they stay together. And all work and no play makes for toxic, unhappy environments. Job expectations. That's the next one. It's simply difficult. It's difficult, and it's not fair to the employees to expect them to be top performers without training and coaching. Think that one through. Doc, you've got a lot of knowledge. You need to be sharing that with your team. Oftentimes, hiding in my cave, if I don't come out and teach them something every day, I've lost the battle. There's a learning curve with each position, and even transitioning to a new office from an old one that a team member might come from, because each dentist does things a bit differently. So that's why you've got to do explaining and training, because you're going to be different than the other office that a new team member might come from. And knowing those job expectations are the only way one can measure their own success, their own self-worth of accomplishment. So that's why we have job expectations. Some team members work for years without knowing what the dentist's expectations are. And other team members jump from dental office to dental office not knowing if they ever made their employer happy with their job performance. When dental team members don't know what your expectations are, they can get defensive when you're upset with their job performance. Okay, to avoid team frustration that can turn into that kind of conflict or retaining good employees, do the following. Number one, make sure that they know what is not negotiable. meaning those tasks they have to perform each day, week, and month. Second, describe how difficult their jobs can be from time to time. Dentistry is hard work, and they need to know that. It's not easy, and it's okay to fall down, and as long as you get back up and keep plussing your knowledge and your skills. And third, let them know what is expected of them so they can perform their duties with confidence. The status quo or resistance to change is when we train offices in the clinical business of dentistry, this is the one that seems to create the most conflict, holding offices back from their greatest potential. People seem to enjoy the status quo because it's familiar to them, because it's easy. When we learn something new, we have to overcome the fear of the unknown. Yet not everyone is willing to embrace that change or overcome that fear. That change is what tends to become stressful and oftentimes will result in conflict between the doc and other team members. Teams will go through the stages of team development when learning something new. Taking docs and team members through those stages, which are called forming, storming, norming, and performing, that'll result in some team members entering into denial and confusion and even anger when change is required. You know what I'm talking about. That's why a lot of dentists are like, a lot of our clients, hey, Dr. Rob, all the teams on board except for this person or this person, they're just really set in their ways. Can you help me? And I'm like, yeah, I'll help you. Either they'll change or they can go somewhere else. That's just how I am. It's like, if you can't get on board with what I want to do, this is not the practice for you. However, most team members will embrace that change. The majority will embrace it. And once they get past their own fears, everyone now and then will experience a team member who suffers from what we call that Yanindi syndrome. So everybody gets past the fears, but you've got that one, the Yanindi syndrome. It's a disease. It really is. It stands for, Yanindi is an acronym, by the way. It stands for, yeah, no, I'm not doing it. And we simply just say, bye-bye now. Have a good day. You're out of here. I love team members that love to learn and love change. And when leading your dental team through change, make sure you do the following to avoid angry conflict. First, teach them the reasons behind the change. Oh my gosh. This is like the capstone of this podcast. You've got to be listening here, okay? Teach them the reasons behind the change, the why. They need to understand why, in quotes, why, W-H-Y, why the change. Connecting the why will connect with their limbic system of the brain. And by doing that, you'll get your team emotionally connected to why the change is needed. And then that's when they are connected and they get it. Second, involve the team in the process of change so that they have ownership of it. This is why every dental team member goes through our training for the week. They need to understand what the front office is learning that the assistants do. They've got to understand it. And the front office needs to understand what the assistants are going to be going through when they're asked questions in the back, or when the hygienist is asked questions, or the hygienist is presenting periodontal treatment like they've never presented it before. All the team members need to be on the same page, because questions will be asked when others with working knowledge of the procedures might not be available. And everybody will be able to answer the questions, okay? And then it gives everybody ownership of everybody else's position and helps them back it up. We like to think of this as like a special forces unit in the military. Every one of those individuals can do each other's job. They have responsibilities in their vertical, but they can all back each other up. Isn't that amazing? Third, take the time to train and give training to your team with their respective jobs, Doc. It'll show them that you care and you want them to succeed. You want them to bloom where they're planted. You want them to grow. It's important to quickly identify causes of dental office conflict so that you can squash it before it becomes a problem, before it enters in, before it becomes a cancer, a disease in your practice. Keeping your dental team free of conflict is vital to the success of your practice. And identifying potential conflicts and being proactive with them will be your greatest task as a dental business owner. Why? Because patients will pick up on drama in the office, in your office, and no consumer, no patient likes to receive health care knowing that there are issues in the office that they receive health care from.
Thank you so much for tuning into the My Practice, My Business podcast. You can find additional podcasts you may have missed that will help you with your dental practice at Apple iTunes Podcasts. And remember to become a subscriber to our podcast. Many of you have asked how to help support the My Practice, My Business podcast. If you have enjoyed the program and information you received today, the best way to help is to leave us a 5-star review. Thanks again for allowing us to be a part of your day.